Hello there everyone. Today I'm bringing you a bit of a double feature, two games in two separate videos in kind of close succession because they share a similar theme, a theme that I've actually seen kind of crop up a little bit more recently, and that is arcade style shmups with loot systems and things like that. Kind of started off with me doing a video for a game called Rain of Bullets, and now I've been noticing more and more of them, and I'm going to show you two more of them today. Well, one more today, and probably the next one tomorrow. But the first one goes by the name of Starship Rubicon, and it is developed by Wickworks and published by Cheerful Ghost, which has an adorable logo. And it has actually been around for a little while now. I believe it came out in December of 2014, and it finally made its way to Steam very, very recently. And it came with a large update, as well as a pretty significant little bit of change, including the things like an editor for mod support and things like that. And I think it's pretty interesting. So, let's hop in. Play. The way it works is you will choose your campaign. There are several different ones, and I guess just the campaign is your average normal mode, but these allow you to sort of skip different levels and begin at specific points in the game. So I'm just going to start from the beginning because that makes sense for a video, and you choose your ship. Now, there are three ships available at first: the Lemjet, the Warbird, and the Zhukov Mark II. They are your kind of classic archetypes. You have your very balanced basic ship, you have your very fast, fragile ship, although it's not the fastest or the fragilest in the game, and you have your slow, lumbering, very powerful ship. Then you can unlock more with these shards. As you go through the game, whether you win or lose, it doesn't matter, you will gain shards that you can spend on unlocking more ships and items. So I've unlocked this thing, the pack of stuff, because it looked interesting, and it is really hard to use. Basically, it has no weapons, and you ram dudes with it. And then I also just got the Lemjet Mark II unlocked, which apparently has dual revolvers and a time warp ability. I have no idea what this thing is like because I haven't used it yet. Also, after you beat the game for the first time, you unlock a hangar and you can actually make your own configurations of ships, like I've made this ridiculous thing right here. But it actually costs you an amount to launch with it, so you can't just make a super overpowered ship and use it to beat the campaign again and again. You have to actually have the money to launch it first. But that's a very cool little feature that lets you customize your ships from the start and, you know, just start a bit differently, which is cool. I like that. So let's get into it. How it works is, it has an interesting sense of humor. This guy right here is basically like a kind of angry AI that doesn't speak very good English, purposefully so. And, you are a pilot, and I won't really spoil the story. The story is actually kind of interesting, and, your pilot has a name. She is quite the person, and the game actually appears to have at least two different endings, one of them involving actually playing old-school asteroids in order to win, but again, I'm not going to spoil any of that. So the basics are you're given a choice of multiple places to go, and you choose. Now, the game is a very basic tutorial, it doesn't really explain much, so let me try and help with that. This map shows actually what kind of enemies are going to be in the levels. This one obviously has some sort of weird nebula effect to it, which is going to kind of alter the actual map on which you're fighting when you choose. As well as it's going to have a couple of beam network enemies, which are a pain in the bum, a destroyer, which is a pretty large destroyer type ship, and some turrets, which are fairly damaging and a little bit tough. So this one, yeah, gravitational anomalies, that's what those are. They can pull you in and make you really easy to hit. And then this one is called roadside assistance because it has a human ship there, and you can actually gain other people sort of in a party and fight with them as long as you are able to save them from these missions. So this one's going to have a bulldog, which is a pretty powerful sort of Corvette style ship, some turrets and interceptors, and also it appears to have some asteroids around, so that we'll have to watch out for those. So let's go to this one, and here we go. Boop! This is the game. It is very basic to play, very easy control. Oh my goodness. Very easy controls. Pretty much, you can almost control the entire thing with a mouse. You just move the mouse to point your ship, right click is thrust, left click is fire, space is your ship's ability if it has one equipped, and shift is an afterburner. And that's it. Those are all of the controls, but that does not mean the game is particularly simple. So this ship appears to be pretty potent. It's got dual revolvers, which are basically pretty balanced weapons with good range, good fire rate, and good damage, but they don't really excel in any of those. And as you can see, the human I rescued is a very powerful person with a big beam ship. And we were able to just destroy the enemies as they spawned, and that was that. So let's leave. And now I get some shards as a reward, and I get a little bit of story with these characters, and now I have them. So every character you can bring into battle with you, but they all also each have a kind of passive-like ability. In this case, this person actually gives you a map of the sector that lets you see the entire web of the level from the get-go, which allows you to sort of plan out your movements a little easier. But in this case, I only have one choice right now, and that is to go to here. And it's going to have some pretty nasty stuff for this early on, but it's also going to give me a big boost in money if I complete it, so let's do that. And basically the game goes on like this. You are given various sectors to choose from, you choose the ones that look the most interesting to you, and you fight and hopefully not die. And it is permadeath. If you die, then you lose that run. However, you can, if you have the necessary shards saved up for that run, spend 500 of them to sort of respawn before you chose the mission that killed you, and try again. But of course, you know, that's pretty expensive. As you can see, there's also a repair system. You can be repaired, but it costs a lot. And the thing is, the repair system is a bit of risk-reward kind of into it, because it always costs the same to repair your ship, no matter how damaged it is. In other words, it depends on how much maximum armor your ship actually has, like basically how big its health gauge is. But after that is decided, pretty much no matter how much... so that's the special, this slows down time. No matter how damaged you are, after that point, you will always pay the same. So you saw this one was like over 100, because it has like 20-something armor. And whether I'm missing 1 armor or 19 armor, it's always going to cost that same over 100 amount. So the kind of risk-reward is you try and be the most efficient you can with your shards. 155, so that is how much it costs me to repair. I need to do it because I only have 4 left, so boom, 20. So ships with less maximum armor will cost less, but no matter how much you're missing, they'll always cost that amount, as if you were basically to repair it full. So you gotta be careful with what you choose. Now in this case, these missions have equipment stashes, which lets me show you the most interesting part of the game, in my opinion. But first I have to actually complete one, so let's do it. The human companions have a sort of cooldown ability, or, well, a cooldown effect on them, that makes it to where you can only use them once every certain number of battles. They all have a different number of sort of cooldown turns, and that means basically you can't use them for every single battle. And if they happen to die in a battle, that cooldown is very, very long. And it basically is flavored as they got very badly damaged and they have to wait several turns to repair their ship. You may also notice there the UI is very sparse, and I'm also about to die. You have a shield on your ship, those represented by those blue lines, and this ship has a fairly alright shield to start with, 2 bars. You'll notice they turn red when you fire. That is because when you actually shoot, your shield goes bye-bye. So just holding the button down and shooting all the time is actually a bad idea, because if you get hit by a few bullets while you're shooting, you'll take armor damage, whereas I don't actually take damage if I get hit with my shield up, as long as it doesn't penetrate the shield. So you gotta be careful with how you want to engage. You can't just hold the button down constantly. There we go, and I found an item. So let me repair again. And this is the very interesting part of the game. You have a sort of Tetris-style ship customization system. Every ship has this. So, time warp, let's see, time itself slows down, 2 revolvers, and the engines. And there are lots of different things you can find and buy at the shop, as well as more you can unlock with shards from the main menu. And I happen to get a pulsar, which is an ability. If I have more than 1 weapon on my ship, it'll fire them both at the same time, and if I have more than 1 ability, it'll use them both at the same time. So this seems useful combined with time warp, actually. And what this will allow me to do is actually make my ship symmetrical. Now, as you can see, this little empty window here, what happens if, say, I do this? Boop. Symmetrical. Last chance on death. That means that when I am reduced below 1 health, I get a little bit, I basically get 1 health back and get a shield temporarily that lets me kind of last stand and try and beat the mission. If you keep your ship in a symmetrical design, you get stuff like that. And there are other things too. For instance, if you have no abilities equipped, it'll make your weapons deal like 50% more damage and things like that. And there are various types of things that you can put on your ship, and every ship has a different grid. As you can see, these little notches here mean that I can't actually put this here, for instance, because those notches they like conflict with each other. If this had little square peg-like holes in it, then I could fit it there. And these little plus signs are because you can actually find things that augment your weapons. For instance, one that adds like shield and armor piercing, one that adds just a bunch of power or speed. You actually place them to where these little yellow plus symbols will align with your whatever weapon you're trying to augment, and you can even augment multiple weapons with one part if it has multiple pluses on it. And the engines also have little circular symbols in it because you can do the same with your engines. You can find augmenting abilities that will slot into them. So basically, the ship design system is my absolute favorite part of the game, and it's really interesting. It lets you do all kinds of cool stuff, and more or less, you're given random items every time you go to one of these missions, and that little hangar from the main menu, once you've beaten the game once, lets you actually customize an entire new loadout for a ship, which is very cool. So yeah, now my spacebar actually uses 2 abilities at once, as long as they're both off of cooldown, which is actually pretty cool. So there's actually quite a bit of ship customization, and you don't, like I mentioned, you don't actually start with all of the parts unlocked at once. You have to buy some of them, including some of the new Steam exclusive parts, like the gravity gun, which is kind of awesome sounding, and I want it very badly. And there we go. So it's actually not too hard during the first actual world, but we're about to fight a boss. At the end of every world is a boss, so I'm gonna repair just because I'm about to fight a boss. And I found some armor, which will double my ship's health. But this will also make it, of course, to where I have to be very careful with how I repair, because this is going to make repairing cost a lot more. And also, there's no way that I can actually keep my ship symmetrical with this. Now, the symmetry doesn't matter what the types of things are, so I still... Well, no, I can't fit these close together because of those pegs, darn. If I was to make a square with these and then put that square somewhere else, it would still technically be symmetrical, but I can't do that. So I'm going to lose the bones, but that's okay. I'll put this over here for now. And there we go. As you can see, it's got those little peg holes in it, so I can put it next to things with these little nibs on them. And there are some items that are very difficult to fit, and of course they're very powerful, and there are also some that are welded, which means once you slot them in, you can't take them back out. And you can also recycle things for credits if you wish, but I'm gonna keep this in there. There we go. Now I have 40 health, which is a ton, but that also means repairs are expensive. So let's get my friend Grace and fight the boss. The bosses get quite challenging. The boss levels get harder and harder, and the worlds themselves get harder and harder, all the way up to Eden, which is quite difficult. And the boss of the kind of main, I guess the second to last boss, is really quite challenging, I've got to say. Uh-oh, this first boss isn't too bad. It's got a shotgun, a shield, and it can blink around and summon a bunch of adds to attack you, which is unfortunate, but I think we can handle it. The dual revolvers on the ship are pretty wonderful. I will also say that the game gives you a really nice sense of speed, and I actually hit them and died. Very nice sense of speed, weaving back and forth between all of the torpedoes and bullets and stuff is actually a really good feeling. The sense of speed and control that it gives you is nice, and it does have proper Newtonian space physics, so that's good. How many... I can't really unlock much, can I? No, I can't. I could probably unlock an item. I could get Crazy Ivan, which sounds interesting. Gravity Gun, Vampiric. You know what? Let's get Crazy Ivan, just because I like the name. Boop. There we go. So let's do one more. Let's try a different ship for you guys. Let's do... gosh, the one with the flamethrower is pretty fun. Don't ask how a flamethrower works in space. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. So like I said, the game has a bit of personality and a bit of a sense of humor that's interesting, to say the least, and the story, when it doesn't actually need a story, because it really could just be an arcade shmup with a loot system, and it is actually pretty good. It's not as throwaway as it might, well, it would be totally okay if it was kind of throwaway, to be honest, because games like this don't really need stories most of the time. But this one's actually kind of interesting, with a nice little lesson at the end, and maybe a bit of a moral to learn. And it's also kind of cute. So yeah, I also do like that there appear to be multiple endings. I think I chose the harder ending as far as the game goes my first time around, but it was interesting, and you get to play asteroids. Just kind of mine these asteroids here for some shards. As you can see, whenever you complete a level, all the shards float in close to the gate, which is a nice little feature that lets you collect them all and leave a little quicker. Bootstrap. What the heck does that do? Engine add-on. Start of an afterburner gets an extra kick. Alright. So, I'm going to put it... I guess I have to put it here. Boop. There we go. My engines are augmented. And, alright, so we've got a good choice here. I could get some more equipment, but there are some people to save. So let's save a person. Also, there will occasionally be missions where you have to actually find life pods, like human life pods, and drag them back to the... excuse me, and drag them back to the gate. And they are fairly challenging missions because the enemies don't stop spawning in those missions. It's an infinite wave of enemies. And once you get as many as you can, obviously they'll be trying to kill the life pods as well as you. You get as many as you can back, and the life pods are actually, oh god, kind of like a separate currency, almost. They're not spent necessarily, but basically at the beginning of every new level, there is a shop that you can go to. Stop trying to blow up my friend. And the shop will always have 6 items for sale. The first 3 items will be just things that you can buy, and the second 3 items will actually be locked down unless you have a certain number of life pods with you, and then they're sort of unlocked for you to buy, and they tend to be more powerful items. So that, although doing those missions is difficult, it is rewarded with the possibility of getting better equipment. So I do like that bit of risk-reward that the game has. I always appreciate risk-reward in sort of roguelike and roguelite games. And this is kind of one. Alright, we're gonna keep going. I should have repaired. That was really stupid. I don't know why I didn't repair. I'm probably gonna die now. And the game has a nice skillful feeling with kind of moving around fairly quickly, weaving between bullets and torpedoes, and also choosing your shots fairly carefully, which I'm failing to do right now. Also, these things that blink around and make large laser fences are, oh no, very annoying. I shouldn't have put my shields down at that point. It's weird that I've beaten this game once on a pretty challenging way, and now I can barely even, like, play it. Anyway, that's Starship Rubicon, everyone. It is actually really enjoyable. There's a good amount of variety, and with the editor and actual mod support, considering everything is basically Lua, that's Lua scripting, so if you know any of that, you could create mods with this fairly easily, actually, and create your own things. So, yeah, there you go. Starship Rubicon, now available on Steam, and it's only $10 right now. Not expensive. It's full priced. I think it's actually might be $9 or $8 because of a sort of launch discount, but $10 is its official price, $9.99. And I would recommend it if you like shmups with loot systems, because it's actually a pretty good one, and the customization with the whole Tetris block ship fitting thingy is pretty cool. So yeah, also the soundtrack is amazing. The soundtrack to this game is really, really good. The music is fantastic, and every level and boss and stuff has its own musical theme, and they're all very cool, and it actually feels pretty heroic sometimes, jetting around a boss and, you know, slow motion killing it with awesome music in the background. So there you go, folks. Starship Rubicon. Check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.